Hey Facebook friends, this is Shawn. I know I promised everybody I wasn't going to do any more videos, but we obviously have some important business we need to take care of in this country. Obviously some bias going on, control, manipulation. I'm going to try to give a good friend of mine here some equal airtime. You know, unlike the 5 seconds that he got on KFES News, I'm going to let him have the open mic here and let y'all know everything that's going on with the Confederate War Memorial down here in Cape. I'm downtown Cape, down here by the old Common Police Courthouse, corner of Lorimer and Themis. A lot of stuff's going on. World's going absolutely bonkers, on its head. This was just one of the first things that they went after. They've been after this place for several years. But I'm going to turn this over to him. I'm going to switch my camera over if I can do this without dropping my phone here. Hello, sir. State your name.
Sir. My name's Clint Lacey, and you might be wondering about the flag and the sign. Well, this is a Missouri battle flag.
I'm going to back up here. You just keep talking.
All right. This was used by Missouri Confederate troops both east and west of Mississippi. And the sign says equal rights. Well, I chose this phrase because we want equal rights for us, Christian conservative Southerners who are tired of having their heritage destroyed. Repeated requests to apologize, demonizing our ancestors. It's time for it to stop, because recent events have shown that when you try and appease these anarchists, that all they want is more, more, more. They're the children that grew up with everything, that were never told no. And so now they go out into society and they continue to want everything. They don't like being told no, and unfortunately city leaders tell them yes, hoping it will shut them up and make them go away, when it really only brings them back. President Trump recently signed an executive order stating that while cities have the right, cities, municipalities, governments have the right to erect or take down monuments, entities that do not prevent monuments from being vandalized could suffer the fate of having their federal grants and funds reduced. As you know, this was vandalized Thursday night.
I'm going to get a good shot here. You just keep talking.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a shot here.
Nobody was here to stop them. So now they're at risk. You got 2 more visitors, Shawn.
Hey.
How's it going? Going. Nice to meet you. Seen you. Not in person.
We're live on Facebook right now.
Don't worry, they're probably just shooting at me. So, walk over here to this plaque. I want to show everybody something. Try to get this out of your way. So zoom in on this, where it talks about the Confederate monument.
Which paragraph is that? The
Right here
one?
in the center. 1931, the Cape Girardeau chapter of the United Daughters of the Confederacy erected a memorial to the region's Confederate dead. Plans were initiated in 1910 by Mary Hunter Gaboni Houck. That was the wife of Railroad Baron Lewis Houck. And finally realized by the chapter 21 years later under the leadership of Maud M. Hope. Originally located at the foot of the old Mississippi River Bridge, the monument was moved to its current location in 1995 when the old bridge was slated for demolition. This monument recognizes the dedication and sacrifice of Southeast Missouri's Confederate soldiers who fought to establish a Confederate slaveholding republic. And it must now remind us that their loss actually meant liberty, justice, and freedom. Folks, you know what that is? That's a lie, lie, lie. Because Missourians didn't fight for slavery. Missourians fought because the governor of Missouri, Claiborne Fox Jackson, and a former governor of Missouri, later General Sterling Price, met Union General Lyon at the Planter's House in St. Louis, along with Frank Blair and members of each staff. And what they proposed was that the Feds would stay in St. Louis, but would not come out to the country. In return, the Missouri State Guard, the governor's forces, would not come into St. Louis, and they would have a peace treaty. At which time General Lyon stood up and pointed to every member of Governor Jackson's staff and said that before he would concede to the state of Missouri one thing, he would see, and he pointed at each one of them, you, and every man, woman, and child in the state of Missouri dead and buried. This was a man who declared he was going to kill women and children. That is why Missourians fought for the Confederacy, because they had to. And while Lyon didn't make good on his threat because he was killed at Wilson's Creek, large numbers of Union militia did make good, did kill families, women, children.
Now, not to interject here, but while we were sitting here talking right before this interview, we found out a little bit of interesting history that's on these plaques here. You want us to divulge on that a little bit?
I will yield to you.
Okay,
Go ahead and inform.
Let's just walk over here and take a look. Now, everybody's saying, you know, that the claim was that the Civil War monument was built at the end of the bridge as a intimidating figure to blacks and minorities. But it's interesting when you read the plaque here. Let's just say, let's go about halfway down the paragraph here. The courthouse and park says 1806 to 1854. It said it houses city offices and court common pleas, which of course all that's gone now. The cellar was a Civil War prison. The park accommodates a Union War memorial, or Union memorial, a bandstand, and public library, and at one time a fire station and produce mart. Well, the public library, that's been gone for about 40 years. It has fostered, now let's zoom in on that. It has fostered many activities through the years, from slave auctions to religious worship. Now, that's pretty funny that the Civil War monument is the one that targeted, but if we got technical, this whole city block should ought to go, because the Common Pleas Courthouse was used for slave auctions. Oh my God.
Way before the Civil War.
Way before the Civil War, you're correct.
Tell them about the tunnels and what they were used for.
Yeah, there's also still tunnels that's underneath the Common Pleas Courthouse. Those were used to move slaves in and off the river in the slave trade and the auctions. The tunnels, a lot of them have been closed off, but they're still there. You can still go through. I don't know if they've closed these off underneath the Common Pleas, but I've seen those in person. Yep. They do still exist. I know a lot of them had to be closed off downtown because after they put the wall up, they was wondering where river water was coming from, and that was from the tunnels. So they do exist. So if we're going to be splitting hairs here, we have a monument and a plaque here that blatantly states slave auctions. So kind of interesting how the precious Common Pleas Courthouse, who's been here since 1854, has actually seen slave trading. So let's just be truthful about it. This wasn't considered Confederacy in 1854. Am I correct?
No, it was not.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Here's another tidbit of information. Many of Missouri's most prominent Unionists who supported Lincoln and the Union were slaveholders, and they supported the Union because they thought it was safer to support the Union to secure their property. When I say property, I mean slaves. Let's come back down here for a second.
Okay.
I want to mention one other thing about the United Daughters of the Confederacy.
Okay.
Now, when Sophia Voss, who started the petition to remove this monument, was interviewed on KFBS, like you said, she said it was placed at the foot of the bridge as an intimidation tactic for African Americans, and that it was erected in the 30s because that was a heyday of Ku Klux Klan. No, Sophia, it wasn't. you can see the ladies of the United Daughters of the Confederacy began making plans to do this in 1910. One of them was the wife of Lewis Houck, whom Houck Stadium is named after, so that's got to go too. But the reason it wasn't erected until 1931 is because it took the ladies that long to raise the funds to do it. Why did it take them that long? Because after the war, the South was devastated economically. Infrastructure was gone. The men who fought for the Confederacy couldn't hold many or most jobs, couldn't hold office, and couldn't vote. So it took them that long. Now, the Historic Preservation Commission ruled that since this monument was moved in 1995, that the historical integrity was now void. But if you read the plaque, it said it was moved for the coming destruction of the old bridge and the building of the new bridge. Therefore, the Historic Preservation Committee's argument is moot. It is null and void.
You got a little bit of wind out here.
A little bit. And as far as I'm concerned, the Historic Preservation Committee here in Cape is null and void, because while they allowed the public to attend the meeting on their suggestion of what to do with this monument to the brave men of the Confederacy, they did not let the public have any input. And as I've stated, the Historic Preservation Committee does not wish to work with history or preserve anything.
Now, I'm just going to throw this other thing out there. So let's just say we give in and say, okay, let's preserve it and let's move it somewhere else. What has transpired about that?
Well, from what I heard, the Historic Preservation Committee isn't. It sounds like they just want to put it in a storeroom, and if somebody does take it, it has to have an interpretive plaque with it that would basically say that Confederates were evil supporters of slavery. Most of the Confederates around here weren't much better off than the slaves themselves.
And just to clarify, this monument was built not just for Cape citizens that were Confederate soldiers, correct?
That's correct. That's an excellent point. It was dedicated to all of Southeast Missouri's Confederate soldiers, which means this isn't a Cape Girardeau issue. This is an issue for Southeast Missouri in a broader sense. And I mentioned Sophia Voss earlier. Her petition, she posted an update on it, and she stated that the Historic Preservation Committee is on our side. Well, we know what side she is, so we know what side they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gave you more than 5 seconds here. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
That's okay.
Here, I'm just as guilty as KFS now. But I gave you more than 5 seconds of airtime here. Is there any way, what can you tell the people who to contact here at the city? What should they do?
I would contact Mayor Bob Fox. Tell him that since they didn't protect this monument and it was vandalized, they're at risk of losing federal funding per President Donald J. Trump's executive order. They opened up this can of worms now. Now they got a hard decision to make. Are they going to take it down and give in to the wishes of anarchists? Because they'll want more. We already gave you the history of the Common Pleas Courthouse. You know that the Houck Stadium, just a few blocks away, was named after Lewis Houck, and that his wife was one of the largest fundraisers for this Confederate monument. So she's guilt by association, he's guilt by association, so that's got to go down too. And we also know that a lot of the Union soldiers didn't fight to end slavery, they fought to keep the slaves. So that big monument there's got to go. And using Voss's logic and liberal logic, since a lot of Missouri's prominent Unionists were slaveholders, I'm sorry, James Ivor, but you got to go too, because obviously you joined the Union Army to make sure your fellow slaves continued to be enslaved. Do you see how ridiculous this is?
It's a definite Pandora's box. Well, I'm glad I could give you some equal time here. Everything seems to be one-sided, especially on Facebook. We hope that Facebook doesn't delete this or put it somewhere archived.
By the way, don't stop making your videos. Everybody likes them. Tell the public exactly how many reporters from the Southeast Missourian or KPS 12 have been down here today.
Yeah, I have been here for what, an hour?
Probably an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. There has been this many that showed up. So we know which side Cape City, and everybody's in bed together here in Cape. If they're not, they need to show it. And it's really stinking down here.
It is.
So,
It
but
smells like hypocrisy.
exactly. Well, thank you for your time. Hopefully we'll stay cool out here for however long it takes. And I'm gonna switch back here. See my ugly mug for a second. So, Facebook friends, be safe. Just pray for our country right now. This is another one of our battles. We're getting hit from all sides.
Definitely pray, because that's the only thing that's going to fix this.
I totally agree. So anyway, y'all have a good afternoon, and God bless. Thank you.